did wrong, never will I ever end me. I like ice, but you brought it on yourself, cause it was about war. 58 counties screaming for the mind. The war's coming forth, never with the disguise. Another A-bomb for you, who really wants it. Shroud medals in my vocabulary. Rolling with the punches, I'm roping and jumping. Dealing with the problems, I got to be coping. Making it fit, and I click just like a Lego. I'll be Casio, but you can be Tiger from the FBI to the CIA. I'm glittering out the path from here to LA. I be from C-Town, kicking the roof down, ripping up the mic and way past sundown.
New time, new week, same show though. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tavin McCully. Always with me is my co-host Nate Bope, and welcome back to another week of Prospects of the Land. Nate, how we doing today? I know you're in a new time zone. How's the move been?
We're an hour back now, so it is actually 5:03 for me right now instead of the 6:03. It was good. Road trip was long, but you know we were bouncing around a lot in the city of Omaha, and now we're up here. New set. We got a couple jerseys behind me, and hopefully the hooks don't fall. I just put them up yesterday, so yeah, you know, anything can happen with a live show. But no, it was good. I mean, hate a 13-hour drive though. I mean, I'm not a road trip fan in general, but that 13-hour drive almost killed me.
Oh, I bet. Again, just huge, a lot of moves. Lots to unpack in this episode. Do you just want to kind of tell the people what the rundown's going to be?
Yeah, I will so in a little bit, but I wanted to ask about you because I actually started classes today, and we actually figured out that Mondays are going to be a really busy day for me, but really happy that we can still do the podcast. You said before this you start Wednesday. Is that right?
Yep, Wednesday.
You got a couple days. Maybe go catch a Rubber Ducks game tomorrow. That kind of maybe. Your guys pitching.
Thor's on the bump. Yep.
All right. Well, welcome. Yeah, welcome everybody. I'll give you sort of the rundown here of what we got going on. I actually just closed the rundown. I don't know why I did that, but as per usual, we're going to go ahead and we're going to run through the results from this past week, just sort of tell you guys what each affiliate went and did. Hey, there is a new MLB Top 100 list and a new Guardians Top 30 list, which is perfect because on the last podcast, we just talked about the old one. So we're going to talk about the new one in this podcast. We're going to update you on where the teams are in the playoff race, as well as sort of give you our picks as we head closer and closer. We're about a month out from the end of the season at each level. I think 3 weeks for both the single A and high A, 4 weeks or about a month for double A Akron, and then about 5 weeks for triple A Columbus. So again, we'll keep you updating all the things, sort of just go through, not necessarily for each team, but throughout the organization as a whole, sort of what our MVP, Cy Young, most improved, you know, those sorts of things. And then that's going to kind of wrap up this show here. Tavin, anything to add before we jump into it here? Start running through Lynchburg.
Not much. Let's do it.
Let's do it. A little bit of a long-winded intro there, so apologies for that. But let's go ahead and start talking about the affiliates. As per usual, we start from the bottom and we go our way up. Starting from the bottom in single A Lynchburg, they played down east. And look, we had talked pretty much all last podcast that, hey, Lynchburg needed a big series. Well, they got one against Down East. They ended up winning 5 of 6. Big win on Thursday, a 10-9 win. The lone loss came on Friday and a 3-5 loss. But, I mean, some really good baseball played in Lynchburg. Some guys with some pretty darn good stat lines and really only or not really only, the stats even show 1 home run for them this last series. But, I mean, a lot of guys still playing really well. Ryan Cesarini in only 2 games hit .429. Jason Churio doing his thing, 5 games, .250 batting average, knocked in a couple of runs. Welbin Francisca was the RBI leader this week. 4 RBIs for him. He hit .263 in 5 games, 19 at-bats. That for all you math nerds, that's 5 hits. And overall, just some pretty good performers from guys that we saw come up here. Our guy, Isaac Martinez, has been pitching really, really well. And I'll actually go over to the pitching side of things here as we take a look at just what some guys did. I mean, Kyle Scott has been really, really good as of lately for this Lynchburg squad. He pitched 12 innings. I believe he got the Sunday start there. I mean, 12 innings, 8 strikeouts. Can't really ask for much better. Isaac Martinez, the guy we just talked about, 5 strikeouts. He ended up pitching really well. Gave up a couple of runs, you know, here and there. But again, a guy that just got drafted. And overall, some pretty solid pitching. Lynchburg, that was a big series for them. They really, really needed it, Tavin.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Lynchburg, they lost Ralphie Velasquez and a couple other guys, but you're just looking at the new draft picks down there. And of course, the main star down in Lynchburg is going to be Jason Churio. I mean, he had 4 hits in the upcoming season, so or not upcoming season, the past series. So he just remains dominant. It'll be interesting to see if they're going to want to move him up to Lake County. I've heard a lot of rumors, especially now with DeLauter going up. Maybe they want to bring him up and somebody from Lake County, maybe up to Akron. We'll touch on DeLauter a little bit later. But Jason Churio, again, he's still doing his thing, and he's proven why he's a top 3 guy in our system.
Yeah, and again, we'll talk sort of about all theirs and all the moves there as well. But yeah, I mean, big series for Lynchburg. They really needed it. Again, Lynchburg is a team that just has a lot of changes. We'll update you kind of on where they are in the standings here as we go along and get there. But that was the big series for Lynchburg. For Lynchburg, they get 5 out of 6. Not Great Lakes. Great Lakes, the team they played was Lake County, as now we move into High A. Lake County played Great Lakes. I know that was confusing, but 2 out of 5 there for Lake County. They ended up having 1 game postponed due to some rain, which, again, just continuing to go through the Ohio area, just lots and lots of rain. But, I mean, again, 2 of 5, considering the circumstances, isn't all that bad. Jorge Burgos, though, great series for him. He hit 300, 4 RBIs to go along with 2 home runs. Didn't draw any walks, struck out 3 times, but still a very effective hitter in only 3 games. You have to talk about what Travis Bazzana did last week. Of course, the number 1 draft pick. 3 games, 545 batting average, a 615 on base percentage, a 909 slugging. Friends, you add those 2 numbers up, that's a 1.524 OPS. Great stuff seen out of Travis Bazzana this week. Angel Janeo also had a great series, 5 hits, scored a run, 1 RBI for him. He hit 357. So even though they only won 2 of 5 games, maybe some of the pitching just wasn't there. Sometimes the offense wasn't clicking. There were some really good individual performers for Lake County. And again, the team can start to round into form as they head into the postseason.
Yeah, again, you touched on Bazzana. That's going to be the main guy everybody's talking about for the rest of this season and going forward. Had a huge series. He had 545, and 4 of the hits were doubles. I mean, the dude's really just starting to heat up. And then Ralphie Velasquez, his first series with Lake County. Not seeing the stats here, I'm trying to pull it up, but on the season, he's up to 239 with 10 home runs. So again, he's obviously been just continuing, just performing to the best of his abilities. So it's just been fun to watch him and the rest of this Lake County team, especially now going forward, trying to make that playoff run coming up.
You even move on over to the pitching side for the captains. Matt Wilkinson, otherwise known as Tugboat, I mean, had a phenomenal game with Lake County this past week. 5 1/3, only 2 hits, only 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Really good outing for him. Dylan DeLucia, though, that's the guy I want to highlight here. In 1 game started and only 5 innings of work, allowed only 2 hits, 1 run. It was earned, and it was a solo home run. So really, I think, again, when you give up a long bomb, that's kind of a stat that's a little bit inflated, especially if it's the only run you gave up. The only thing he gave up was a solo bomb, as well as 9 strikeouts. So, I mean, some really good pitching stuff for Lake County. Just didn't all seem to gel together at the right time last series. So they go ahead and only win 2 of 5. But again, still playing playoff baseball, and they're getting a lot of good individual performers out there. We move to Double-A and the Akron Rubber Ducks, a possible playoffs preview as they got to play the Erie Seawolves, and it was a complete split. 3-3 is exactly the way it went. Some bullpen things did not necessarily go Akron's way. Sometimes the offense just wasn't there, but they were able to get a very, very clutch win there at the end on Sunday to close out the series. And you go ahead and take a look at some guys that had really good weeks. I mean, you've mentioned one already there, Tavin. Chase DeLauter, 3 home runs and 16 at-bats, hit 438, 5 RBIs, only struck out twice. And for a guy that had a little bit more strikeouts than we're used to seeing out of him, wasn't really producing as much with the bat, he finally started to wake up. That is the absolutely massive storyline there out of Akron. Alex Friplanes had a pretty good series. Aaron Bracho had himself a fairly decent series as well. Starting pitching for the most part, pretty solid for the Akron Rubber Ducks. And overall, again, they're keeping themselves right in position there for a playoff spot. Nice split there with Erie.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on all the key points. DeLauter obviously had 3 home runs in 3 days, which was just huge for him. Obviously, he got the promotion off of that. Another guy I want to touch on is Aaron Davenport. I mean, he was back to his old form. Didn't have the best outing against Reading the previous day, but he had strikeouts over 5 innings. Only gave up 3 hits, 2 walks. So just Davenport's just obviously back to what he's been doing. And if you didn't watch any of this series, it was a shootout every game. 6-5, 3-4, 8-3 was the only really large margin. 3-4, 5-2, and 1-6 were the scores of those games. So Erie, 2 of their 3 wins were walk-offs. One of which coming from Jack Leftwich, who still can't figure it out. But Joe Lampe, another great series out of him. He totaled for 4 hits, one of which being a triple, his 5th on the year. So just another solid series from Akron.
Yeah, absolutely. The guy I want to touch on here is Parker Messick. Had a pretty good day. 8 strikeouts and 6 innings of work. Your guy Davenport, scoreless game in 5 1/3, 3 hits, 7 strikeouts. You texted me and were surprised that they honestly pulled him, but they've kind of been doing that a little more often with Davenport. So maybe something to read into just a little bit there. But I mean, for the most part, you're still getting really good production out of Lenny Torres. Had some good games out of the bullpen. Trenton Denholm, after really kind of struggling in that first start, finally was able to figure it out this past week. So again, really good things there from Akron. They are able to get the series split against Erie. There are no series split in the playoffs, though. Someone's going to have to win that series, and that's the way things are trending. Knock on wood. As we now go ahead to talk about the Columbus Clippers, the AAA affiliate, they continue to stay hot. And look, there were a couple games here against the Iowa Cubs that were shootouts, and the Cubs have not fared that well this season. Obviously, you can tell who their major league affiliate is there. They actually got the series split with Iowa, but in those past couple of games, they really did take it to the Cubs. They got a 5-1 win in game 2 of the doubleheader on Saturday, and then on Sunday, a 7-2 win. However, there was a game in there that they lost 12-3. So, I mean, a mixed bag for Columbus this week against the team that, granted, yes, you were on the road, and again, road environment never easy to play in. You probably should have at least taken 4 here, so maybe seen as a little bit of a disappointment, but they started to get hot there towards the end, and you'll always take a series split. Tavin, go ahead and talk about the Clippers while I pull up some stats here.
Yeah, solid series for Columbus. Again, you have all those major league guys down there with McKenzie, Logan Allen, Angel Martinez, just guys that they're great in the minor leagues. Same with Jonathan Rodriguez. Can't really figure it out in the majors, but you throw them in AAA, they're going to do really good for you. So
Now, yeah, and one guy that, I mean, you didn't mention there that probably could be at the very least a defensive piece on any team out there has actually really started to hit the baseball, and that is Miles Straw. He hit .462 this last series, had a home run, led the team in RBIs this past series with 5 of them, only 3 strikeouts, which, I mean, you take a look at some of the strikeout numbers from this past week. Juan Brito had 6, Estevan Florial had 7, Manzardo and Rodriguez each had 6, Valera had 7, Delgado had 7, Martinez had 7. Miles Straw really started to hit this past series. Do you think that's going to be a consistent piece? I'd probably bet no, but we've seen that out of him for the past couple of series, and it really exploded in Iowa.
I really don't think it's going to be consistent. I mean, I wish it was. I wish the dude. What we need at the major league level out of him is somebody that can go up there, even at this point, just hit 240, 250.
Exactly what he showed us against Iowa.
But you bring him up and he hits 210, 200. It's just there's not really a spot, especially with Lane Thomas struggling to even try him out. I mean, I could also maybe see them making the move to send Lane Thomas down if this continues another week or two.
I don't think so, just because they traded for him. But
again, yeah, you just traded a solid amount for him. You traded Jose Tena, who's been doing great with the Washington Nationals, and 2 other very good prospects in Alex Clemmie and Rafael Ramirez. So I don't think you're going to trade all that capital just to send him down to the minor leagues. And no shade to Lane Thomas, but he just hasn't figured it out yet. I love Will Brennan, what he's been doing ever since he got the call up in the Minnesota series. So if Miles Straw can just consistently hit 240, 250, I think we could see him up next year, especially obviously being one of, if not the best outfielder defensively, not on the team, but in the entire league. He just has to get the bat rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and talk about pitching here. So let's talk about Tristan McKenzie for a little bit. we were talking with Ethan a couple weeks ago that like, hey, the Tristan McKenzie had a nice outing. Maybe this is something consistent. Well, his last start, 3 2/3. While he did strike out 7, 5 runs, all of them were earned, gave up 3 home runs, walked 3 guys. Ouch. I mean, I'm starting to really be on the track here that he just needs to get that surgery and rehab his arm.
I mean, I've been on that track. The track I'm starting to go on now is you might just have to get rid of the dude. He's just never healthy, and especially his contract's coming up. If he's going to want paid, I'm not giving him money with how cheap we are. You just can't afford it. He just hasn't been great. He's always hurt. And another guy who struggled was Logan Allen. In his outing, he gave up 4 earned runs, only had 3 strikeouts. So it's the pitching, man. It's just been the entire problem with Cleveland this year. I like Matthew Boyd. He stepped in there and did a great job in his first appearance. He's going on the mound tomorrow.
Cobb has been mixed results out of Cobb, and he actually just got placed on the 15-day IL because of a broken nail.
Yep. And then they just brought up Anthony Gose, and Hench is also done for the entire year. He just went on the 60-day IL too. So,
and Gose in this last series against Iowa, 2/3 of an inning, 2 runs, 1 of them was earned, gave up 1 hit, 2 walks, no strikeouts. So you didn't really get a great outing from him when he pitched there in the Iowa series. A couple guys, though, that did have some good outings. Doug Nikhazy, well, okay, never mind. Reading the wrong stat line here. Doug Nikhazy also just kind of struggling to figure it out at the AAA level. He gave up 5 earned runs there as well. Zach Kent came in and gave up 5 earned runs. But okay, now I lied to you. Now we'll go ahead and take a look at the positive side of things. Will Dion had himself a pretty nice day, as well as Ryan Webb, the guy that just got the call from Akron here, had a pretty good day himself as well. So while the pitching continues to try to get figured out there, we'll definitely see what happens. But if nothing else on Columbus, let's go ahead and talk about the moves.
I mean, one more thing, just Will Dion. I thought he was great in Akron. He's obviously struggled, but he's getting better in Columbus. A lot of people compare his windup to Clayton Kershaw. I don't want to say he's going to be Kershaw, but Will Dion's going to be a very good piece. Same with Doug Nikhazy and Ryan Webb. I think it's a little too early to bring those guys up, but I think Will Dion, if you really need an arm to come up to Cleveland, especially with Sem Tepper call-ups, it's going to be him.
And by the way, Andrew Walters just continues to be absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you could see him get the call to clear. I mean, I doubt it, because he's a bullpen arm. They don't really need that. They need guys who can start. Walters is not one of those guys. But
with Hench's going down, if Ghost doesn't do good again, I could see them make the swap.
Well, I'm actually going to go ahead and let you kind of take the lead here on the moves, because the only one, at least that I am aware of, is the Chase DeLauter move off to Columbus, which we'll talk about more in depth here. But any more moves, I'll go ahead and give to you, sir.
Nothing crazy from last week, obviously, with the Tyrese Turner, Ralphie Velasquez going everywhere. This week, the only thing that really happened was just earlier today with Chase DeLauter going up to Columbus, and Anthony Gose, who we DFA'd last week. He will now be joining the team back in Cleveland, and that's pretty much it for moves this week.
So really, really light for moves, which means we can talk fully in depth about the one move. And I mean, if you're going to make a move, might as well make a splash. Chase DeLauter. Again, I'll go back and I'll read his stat line for all you fine people out there, and what he did hitting wise. But in 16 at-bats, 4 games played, had 7 hits, 5 runs scored, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, a .438 batting average, a .500 on-base percentage, a 1 slugging. That's a 1.5 OPS. He is finally, seemingly, figured things out, and now he gets the call up to AAA. Tavin, my question to you, and I'll answer my own question here in a second. Did the Guardians organization do this move at the right time, or is this a little bit of kind of too early thing, and you wanted to maybe see a little bit more out of DeLauter before he got the call to Columbus?
So I'm torn. Obviously, he played all of college, and he's an older guy. He was hurt most of last year and this year, so he's getting older. My problem is I haven't seen enough out of him from AA. The games that he's played, especially in the beginning of the season, he didn't look great. Obviously, he's heating up now. I thought they would at least let him ride out the rest of the year in Akron. Maybe a month or 2 next year in Akron. That would have been probably a little too much. But I thought for sure the rest of this year, let him run it out with Akron for the playoff race, and then next year have him and maybe even Valera start in the majors next year. He can replace Valera.
Yeah.
Um,
So, oh,
I
sorry.
mean,
Go ahead. I
yeah,
didn't mean to cut you off.
it's just been injuries. I mean, I saw somebody on Twitter put a new set of walls for him to maybe hurt the foot again, and it's true, but he just hasn't been healthy. It's just health has been the main thing with DeLauter.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue anything that said. So let me read you his stat line for the season now. Now, he's played in only 30 games, has only 111 at-bats. So just kind of to give all you fine people out there a sample size of what we're working with, but has 28 hits, 18 runs. 6 of those hits have been doubles, has no triples yet, 5 home runs. Of course, 3 of them just came in this past series against Erie, where he really got hot. 16 RBIs. Again, 5 of them came in this past series. 14 walks, 19 strikeouts, 1 stolen base, 1 caught stealing for his slash line, 252 average, 328 on base percentage, 441 slugging. That's a 769 OPS. If you take away his stats from that series against Erie, it definitely is a stat line that looks a lot less impressive. And again, you kind of want everyone to be hitting around the 280 to 300 mark, maybe even a little bit lower if they're a good enough fielder to get called up to that next level. Chase DeLauter hasn't even done that. Now, again, he got hot and he started to figure it out there at the end of that last homestand. But I'm kind of with you on this one. And I don't think maybe ride out the rest of the season with Akron. I think he was going to be due to get the call to Columbus eventually, just because it seems like Columbus, again, knock on wood, also going to be playing playoff baseball. But I mean, you want to see a little bit more consistency out of him. I mean, look, this is baseball, right? Anybody can get hot. The bats can be flying. Anybody's arm can just, you can find your curveball really nicely, and it can work for a good extended amount of time before you start regressing down to the mean. So we'll see what happens with DeLauter. Of course, we hope for nothing but the best for him in Columbus, and hopefully he continues what he did in the last series against Erie. But I'm kind of with you and maybe some other people out there. I think they made this move a little too early.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he just did get prospect team of the week too.
Yep.
So that just goes to
Prospect
show
team
you
of the week
how good of a week he did. I mean, 3 home runs in 3 games. The power is definitely coming along for him. I just think it's both of the right and left foot. I mean, I just don't know if he can stay healthy, and I think he probably just should have rode out the rest of the season with Akron.
Yeah, I mean, so that's tough, right? I mean, let's just play through that fictional scenario in our head. So, I mean, now that he gets called up to Columbus, I mean, obviously, if he succeeds, no complaints. No complaints at all. If he struggles and he hits maybe around that 200 mark like he was kind of hitting in Akron, that's a different story. I mean, that right there kind of tells you that, hey, maybe the move was made a little bit too early. Maybe this is a little bit premature, this and that, whatever have you. I mean, if he were to have stayed in Akron for the entire year and found some, I mean, again, there's no promises that he would have even found some consistency in Akron. He's been really inconsistent. He's been striking out more often than we're used to seeing out of Chase DeLauter. He just hadn't really had the power that we've really seen of him. And he's put together a couple really good performances, but nothing as consistent as to what he did against Erie. My question to you now is, why do you think the Guardians organization ultimately decided to make that move? So obviously we could sit here and argue all day if he should have gone up or should have stayed down. The point of the matter is it's happened. Chase DeLauter is now going to be a Columbus Clipper. Why did they make this move?
One, I think it's because Valera can't stay healthy. He has the same problem as DeLauter, just can't catch a break with the injuries. Another is going to I think it's just what's been happening in the major leagues. Lane Thomas obviously hasn't done anything since he's gotten here. Angel Martinez is hitting the low 200s. Tyler Freeman, another outfielder, hitting in the low 200s. Will Brennan, right before they sent him, right before he got called up, his last stint in the majors, he was getting colder, and that's my guy, but he was getting cold. So I just think it's been lack of just the outfielders doing what they need to do on the defensive side. But also you have to take into consideration this. It seemed like DeLauter has been there for a while. He played 6 games last year, and all of this year, he's only played 39 games. I'm just looking at. That's not even half a minor league season. So that's just another reason why I think it was just too early to call him up.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would agree. I have really no argument here. I absolutely think. Now, I'll answer my own question. Why did they make this move? Again, I kind of think it's the way you said. Valera can't stay healthy. The Guardians are looking for that guy in the outfield that can be sort of that cornerstone, because you have Quan in left, Lane Thomas. I think, again, while he has struggled, I think he's going to end up figuring it out at some point. Now, will that be this year? Will it be next year? Again, I think he's going to end up getting figured out. I think he's too good of a player not to. You have John Kenzie Noel, who's a good power bat, but an okay fielder. Will Brennan has shown inconsistencies both as a fielder and a hitter, but again, has started to perform well up there. I think you're just looking for that other piece in the outfield. And with a guy that has as high as upside as Chase DeLauter, I think you hit the nail on the head, my friend. I think it absolutely is to do with what is happening at the major league level. And if Chase DeLauter, again, what the Guardians organization, I think, is hoping for is he continues to stay this hot. He continues to hit. He absolutely lit up Erie's pitching. And I mean, they won the first half. They didn't just win the first half for no reason. They have good players. They have good pitching. Detroit's got a pretty solid farm system there, especially down in the AA level. And so maybe Chase DeLauter, because of this move, gets the call up to Cleveland. Not obviously not this year, but maybe next year we see Chase DeLauter play in a Guardians uniform, something that a lot of people have been waiting for a very long time.
I just want to touch on something briefly. This is a whole nother conversation. You said John Kenzie Noel as one of the outfielders, and I think that's another reason why they're going to bring him up. John Kenzie's bat, great. Field,
amazing. We love Big Christmas.
In the field, no shade to John Kenzie. He is the slowest outfielder I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't think he should. I
he's
think
a big guy. It's like if you put Franmil Reyes in the outfield.
You're right. And I think that literally the designated hitter spot is designed for John Kenzie. I don't get why Vote's still trying to put him out in right field.
Because you need fielders.
And he has no speed. And Lane Thomas can provide that for you. I just think John Kenzie needs to play DH. But that's an entire different conversation.
And I mean, if we have time, we can definitely dive on into that conversation, as we maybe can talk a little Guardians here at the end. We're running through this a little quicker than we thought here, but let's go ahead now and dive on in to the new top 100 list. The Guardians have 6 guys. Tavin, who are they? Tavin. Tavin. I don't know why I keep mixing it up in my, there's a lot going on in this brain up here. First day of classes. We're trying to shake the rust off. It's fine.
All right.
6 guys on the top 100 list.
We have 6 guys. Number 13 spot, Travis Bazzana. 42, the new Clipper, Chase DeLauter. 52 is Kyle Manzardo. Number 70 on the list is Jason Churio. 76 is Ralphie Velasquez. And 94 is Angel in Lake County. So 6 guys, I think.
That's tied for the high, I think, with like 4 or 5 other teams that have 6 guys in the top 100.
Yeah. I like 5 of them. I'll throw it over to you. What do you think about the top 6?
You said you like 5 of them. Who's the guy that maybe you wouldn't necessarily put in the top 100 if it was you making the list?
If it was me making the list, I think it's Again, it has something to do with me not putting the younger guys up there. I think you got to perform at that high level from AA, but they see a lot in and for good reason. He's hit 333 down in the minor leagues with 10 home runs. So that's just great production out of middle infielder, which is what you need with obviously Brian Rocchio in a huge slump. But it just comes down to the younger guys. Number 7 on the list. We'll get into the rest of the list.
Yeah.
It's just CJ Kafis, but I think he deserves a spot more than
absolutely.
Yeah. Again, no shade to You hit 33. You deserve to be in a system's top 10. I don't think league 100 for quite yet.
I mean, a point that can definitely be argued very nicely. The big thing that I took away from this, and I don't know if I was necessarily surprised to see it, but when it actually happened, I was kind of like, wow, okay, they actually did it. That is now, there's a new number 1 prospect in the organization, ladies and gentlemen. No longer is it Chase DeLauter. It's the guy we just drafted in July, Travis Bazzana. What do you think led into that whole just sort of conversation there? Because obviously there's even a really big gap between them in the overall prospect list. Bazzana's all the way already at the near top of the list. He's top 15. You said he's what, number 13, 14?
Yep, 13.
And Chase DeLauter is almost outside of that top 50 when he was a guy that you could have argued was a top 10 prospect in baseball. I'll answer my own question first. Injuries definitely have played a part in that whole list. And obviously this list was made before Chase DeLauter got hot this past week, but Bazana has shown really good things. And again, it's not like DeLauter hasn't shown good things because, I mean, the guy's still a top 5 prospect in the organization for a reason, but Bazana is the new number 1 because of just, again, he's shown it. He's got some really high upside. He is athletic. He's fast. He can hit. He can field. But Bazana really has it all. He has the attitude. He has the right mindset. DeLauter's been injury prone. So again, not surprised at all that there's a new number 1 prospect the organization has to offer.
Again, I think it comes down to just promoting the top stars. They did it with Paul Skeens last year. If you go 1-1 in the MLB draft, they're going to put you top 15. I think that's just a lock. And Bazana's, from what I've seen so far, I think he's going to follow it up. Obviously, still very small sample size, but I like everything that I see from Bazana so far.
Yeah, I absolutely like everything I see from Bazana so far as well. Okay, so we kind of talked about the top 100 there briefly and where guys sort of ranked there. Again, Chourio is a guy that I really like his placement. I really want to see him start climbing that ladder. I want this Guardians organization to put him in Lake County, maybe even put him in Akron, maybe not towards the end of the season, but next year. Like, I know his bat has been a little bit inconsistent. I think the glove has been pretty fine with Chourio down there, but especially because they made the Chase DeLauter move and you need outfielders to start, rising the ranks in this organization with your current situation at the major league level. Jason Chourio is a guy that I just say, why not, right? If you're promoting outfielders, go ahead and promote him, move him up.
For sure. I mean, he's delivered all year. Especially with DeLauter going up and Guy Lipscomb going to Akron. I don't see why not. Moving him up to Lake County for the playoff push. Why not? I get he's young, but I just think it's time for him to move up, just like Velasquez. I mean, Velasquez is a young kid. They're both, I think, 19. Velasquez might be 20. But just same thing there. I think once Velasquez got the bump, I think Chourio should have as well.
And Chourio is one of the guys in Lynchburg that you can easily say is a guy that you can see in the lineup every single day. Now, while I don't quite know off the top of my head how many games Lynchburg has played this year, I do know that Jason Chourio leads the way in games played for Lynchburg, and it's 94, which, I mean, just thinking off the top of my head, might be pretty darn close to every single game for Lynchburg, while maybe only missing a couple here and there. 324 at-bats. That also leads the Lynchburg Hellcats this season. 67 runs, leads the team. 90 hits, leads the team. 24 doubles, leads the team. While he doesn't lead the team in triples or home runs, does lead the team in RBIs, does lead the team in walks drawn. And I mean, listen to this number. In 94 games played, 81 walks drawn. Very, very patient hitter. I mean, his slash line isn't necessarily fantastic. It's still really, really good. 278 slash line. That's 278 average, 417 on base percentage, 410 slugging, 826 OPS. Why not? Why not call him up, man?
And here's my
I'm
thing.
on it.
You mentioned the games. He's played more than double the DeLauters. I just want to make that a point.
Yeah.
So it's like, I
think he's played triple.
Him. Yeah. I think it's time for him to get the bump.
I do too. I can't wait. Can't wait to see Jason Chourio. And I think even some of the Guardians prospective guards insiders, some of those guys are sort of tweeting out that maybe they're not necessarily expecting it, but they're kind of like, if this happens, I think it's going to be a really, really good move. I definitely think that move should be as well. Okay, let's just kind of go down the list here. We've talked about Bazana. We've talked about DeLauter. We just talked about Chourio at 4. So let's go with the guy in number 3. Kyle Manzardo, a guy that we saw get the call at the major league level, kind of struggled with the bat, but did turn into a doubles machine, is still one of the doubles leaders on the Guardians as we speak. Maybe that's changed because there has been a lot of baseball played since he's seen action at the major league level. But I mean, what are your takeaways from Manzardo's performance in Columbus? He just seems to have more power when he's at AAA. Again, if you're looking for a guy that can necessarily give you that DH spot. I mean, Manzardo's a guy that can do it. I just don't really see a need for him in Cleveland right now. He plays first base. He can also DH, and that he didn't even really see the defensive field when he was up in Cleveland, just because you have guys like Naylor and others that can go play first. But I mean, talk about your impressions of Manzardo for a second, kind of where he sits in the hierarchy of this organization right now, because I think it's more confusing than what meets the eye.
Well, I mean, you talk about power, and he's a guy that definitely has power. He has 17 home runs, but he kind of falls into the same place as Jonathan Rodriguez, a guy who in AAA is just a machine, and then you bring him up to the major leagues, and they don't do as hot. He's hitting 261 with a 9.931 OPS. So I mean,
second, no,
he's doing great.
I was about to say second on the Clippers, but I think among guys that have, played a fair amount of games at Columbus, I think he's third, because obviously John Kenzie, Big Christmas, leading the way in OPS there. I actually think that, it is Daniel Schneemann who's actually leading OPS for them. Then John Kenzie, then it is Kyle Manzardo. Again, among guys that have played a pretty fair amount of games for Columbus this year.
Right, but you make a good point. There's no space for Manzardo at the moment. Yep, especially with Big Christmas doing good, and then Naylor at first. I don't really see him playing on the defensive side of things. And then, like I made a point to earlier, I think if you're going to play Noel, the designated hitter spots for him, and I think it's for Naylor too. I mean, just so he doesn't get hurt going down the long stretch of things. So, just not really a lot of space for Manzardo. Didn't do the best when he was up here, so I don't see him getting the call. The rest of this year, I do see him coming up next year, though, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's definitely going to get the call again, and hopefully he performs a little bit better. 74 games, 17 home runs for Kyle Manzardo, so there's that sort of power that we're talking about. I don't know what that is, over 162 game pace. Maybe someone can do the math out there. But, I mean, off the top of my head, that might be close to 40 home runs over 162 game pace, which I know you don't play that much in AAA, and the number kind of doesn't mean anything, but that's what you play in the majors. So, I mean, I don't know. Again, just not really a place for Manzardo at the moment, but again, a guy that I think you definitely see get the call next year. Okay, number 5, Ralphie Velasquez. Let's talk about him. Again, he ended up, I believe, getting the call to Lake County last week. And tell you what he did here. Okay, well, kind of struggled.
A little bit.
Yeah. 154 batting average, 294 OPS, 231 slugging. That's only a 5.25 OPS. Played in 4 games, had 13 at-bats, only 2 hits with a double, no runs, did drive in a run, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. He'll figure it out, right?
For sure. I mean, the dude's 20 years old. Actually, no, he's 19, even younger than I thought.
Yep.
Obviously, just a young dude who was great in Lynchburg. Obviously got that what are they calling it now? The All-Star minor league All-Star game, Futures game, Futures game honor. Him and Churio, obviously a lot to like there. This, in my opinion, what was it? 4 games? Did you say? Yep, 4 games.
Yeah, 4 games.
Very small sample size from Velasquez.
It's kind of like the early days of Bazana. Like some people were getting really excited. Oh, he has an RBI. Yeah, it was off like this fluke double play thing that the fielder should have got. You needed to see a little bit more out of Bazana, and we have, right? So same principle with Ralphie Velasquez here. It's 1 series. He didn't perform so hot. He's going to get it figured out. Maybe it takes him a couple of series here, but he's going to end up getting that bat going. And again, he's listed as a first baseman on the prospect list I'm listing at. He's listed as a catcher on the stat line I'm reading here. So, I mean, that versatility is really huge.
I think they're going to use him at first. I mean, you have a lot of catchers in the minor leagues. I do think he can play catcher. I think he's going to be like a David Fry, if I'm going to be realistic.
Cozart and Engel and Tencher.
Cozart and Engel, Ramirez, Cody Huff, just a ton of guys in the minor league system. I do think he can play catcher, and they will use him just like a David Fry. I think getting down the line, they're also going to try to play him in right and left field just because he has a little bit of speed. And we like to turn all of our guys in outfielders, so there's probably no doubt in my mind that they will go that route and just make him big utility guy, maybe even throw him over a third. But again, 4 games, 154, nothing crazy to worry about with Velasquez.
Angel Yaneo, my apologies. Number 6 prospect in the organization here. He also played at Lake County last week. 4 games, 14 at-bats, had 5 hits, scored a run, also had a double in there, 1 RBI, 3 walks, only 2 strikeouts, also stole 3 bases this past series. So, hey, good for him. 357 batting average, had a .9 flat OPS. really good stuff out of Angel, there in that first series, and am really, really liking what I see from him. Again, when you take a look at those guys like 5, 6, maybe even 7, those are the top prospects in the organization you're looking at to consider for the MLB top 100. Does make that cut? Does he not? Again, we could debate that all day. But he played really well in Lynchburg, got the call to Lake County, played really well in that first series, being that sort of infielder, middle infielder type player, of which the Guardians have a lot of them, as well as Bazana and some other guys throughout the organization are playing really, really well, including the man I've mentioned many times, Angel.
Yeah. I think just basically everything I said earlier. I mean, 333 is obviously doing great. Top 100, I don't think so. He's young and he just got promoted to high A. Only he's played trying to find the games here. 51 games actually. So no, he's been there a minute. I thought they just recently brought him up. So he's still been doing what he's been doing. Again, I just think low A, it's tough for me to put a guy in the top 100, especially over a guy at number 7, who we'll talk about coming up next, CJ Kafis, who has just been on an absolute tear, all of Lake County and all of Akron.
And Grant, so I am going to be reading his Akron stat line because that's the highest affiliate that he's been at this season. So we are going to be reading his Akron stat line here. Maybe you can read his Lake County stat line if you would like. But yeah, I mean, for a guy that got drafted last year, again, we'll kind of talk about first-year players here. CJ Kafis has been really good. Now, he started to struggle a little bit down the road here and has shown some inconsistencies, but overall has performed really, really well. 272 batting average, 375 OPS, 479 slugging. That's a .872 OPS, 9 home runs, 28 walks. Does have a lot of strikeouts though, 66 strikeouts in only 51 games played, but 53 hits, 11 doubles, 31 runs. I mean, you extrapolate that out over a 162 game span or however long you want. 53 hits in 51 games. When you have more hits than games played, you're doing something right.
For sure. I mean, he's hitting 301 just combined all year. Dude, CJ Kafis is one of, if not the best current player we have in our farm system. He's just been insane. And he comes up in the clutch too. In the Akron Erie on Sunday, we were down 2 runs and he hit a 3-run home run that would win us the game. So the dude has a ton of power. He's hit a total of,
let's see, 9 home runs in Akron,
16 total, and then 7, which is in Lake County. So seems like a lot of his power is coming from the AA level, which you don't see a lot. Does strike out a little bit high. He's closing in on 100. But again, that's the guy you're going to get when you're going for power and just base hits in general. And he can play anywhere. He can play first. He can play right. He can play left, which they started to use him at. So just love everything about CJ Kafis.
We can talk about this guy a little bit more briefly because we've kind of hammered this point home. But Angel Martinez still in the top 10. He is sitting here at number 8. I mean, really pretty much a ditto to everything we've said about Angel Martinez before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're not going to beat that home, but just so all you fine people are aware, Angel Martinez is the 8th top prospect in the organization. Okay. Here's where kind of the first curveball comes in, right? As we round out the top 10 here, number 9 is Braylon Doty. Not only a kid that the Guardians just drafted, but literally a kid out of high school.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Nothing against Doty, and I want to make this point pretty clear as well. You have Joey Oki, number 16, Chase Mobley, number 19, and Cameron Sullivan at 25. All pitching prospects that you took in this year's draft.
Cool. That are now in the top 30.
My thing is, you have Doug Nikhazy at 26, who is in AAA killing it. Ryan Webb at 29, who's been killing it all season. And you do not have the ERA leader in the AA Northeastern League, Aaron Davenport, anywhere on the list.
Not even an Austin Peterson in there? I mean, I can't believe this list.
I just have questions with who makes the list. So how does Braylon Doty, which no shade to him whatsoever, but hasn't pitched a single single game in his entire career. How is he on the list over a guy in Aaron Davenport who has established himself at the AA level, who has just been killing it all season long?
And again, for all of you people out there that are like, oh, they don't like Doty. They don't like. No, that's not what we're saying. We're just, sort of debating how these lists get made. And I think Doty is top 10 because of his upside. I mean, look, let's face it. Not many guys go from high school straight to the professional level. Doesn't really happen anymore in any other sport. And even in baseball now, it is a lot more rare than what you have seen in the past. So obviously the kid's got a great arm. It's got some really nasty stuff. I mean, just go back and watch any highlight reel of his throughout high school. Woof. I mean, the kid's got some breaking pitches that just otherworldly. But again, for a guy that isn't even in any of the affiliates that we talk about on this show, he's playing rookie ball right now. For him to be a top 10 player in the organization, at least that's what the folks at Major League Baseball and whoever happens to make these lists are thinking. I think it goes to show what kind of player he is, what kind of caliber player the Guardians drafted. But I think you absolutely have a very valid point. Again, it's sort of just, I think it'd be very interesting to be a fly on the wall when they are making these rooms. And boy, the stories that you could tell, because how do they evaluate talent? How do they evaluate playing time? Like, it just seems very inconsistent. Maybe there's something that we aren't necessarily thinking of that they consider and what have you. But again, you think about notable guys that go from high school to the professional level. A guy that is from Akron, LeBron James, very, very notable player. A lot of other NBA greats did it. Some really good baseball talent has done it. Braylon Doty might be the next guy to do it and have some really good success at the major league level, but I absolutely have to agree with your point, right? Isn't even playing with any of the affiliates that we cover, is playing in the rookie ball, or for just all intents and purposes, the sort of just, okay, let's ramp you up and let's, see what you're about. And I mean, I get it. He's a high school kid, right? He's going to be younger than anybody else we talk about on this list. Top 10 though? I mean, top 30, I would agree, because I think he's got a really nice arm.
I was just about to say, 10? He should be on the list. He should be on the list.
Doty, but
I think it's a little high. Another guy I just want to say is Cameron Sullivan. No shade to him as well. But at 25 over a guy like Lenny Torres, who's just been killing
even
it
a guy
year.
That's above, like, literally right below him in Doug Nikhazy.
How is Lenny Torres not on this list? And a guy that I seem to always
We're
going
to talk about guys that aren't in this list.
A guy that I always seem to go after. I promise I don't hate him. Robert Arias. He's hitting 253 in rookie ball. I think Joe Lampe deserves a spot on this list over him. Joe Lampe's hitting 280, and the dude's glove's amazing. So it's like, I don't see how all these rookies and guys that you just drafted that haven't done anything in the pro level are beating out guys who lead the league in certain stats.
Again, they very well could be looking at, okay, who is going to be the higher end talent? Who has the highest upside out of anyone within the organization? Maybe that's how they rank it, because obviously if you go take a look at the list, that kind of makes sense. Like Bazana and DeLauter, probably the two highest upside guys in the organization. Manzardo got the call to the major league level, and if he's the kind of hitter in AAA or if he can be the hitter at the major league level that he is in AAA, and he shows that consistency, obviously he's going to be good. We know that Churio and Velasquez, once they get the call, are going to be able to figure things out. So, I mean, Doty, again, coming out of high school, I think it's especially harder to rate those younger guys because he's not even fully developed in his body yet. Like, he's still growing. His brain is getting smart. I mean, he literally is still a high school kid. He is. He would be a freshman in college right now if he wasn't playing. In fact, I think he's even an Oklahoma State commit, right?
I'm not sure on that one.
Okay, well, I think he's committed to play college ball somewhere. We'll see if that ends up happening. If he's playing rookie ball, I mean, maybe. And then to round out the top 10 there is, we'll wrap up the Braylon Doty conversation. Juan Brito is there at 10. No complaints about that. Really solid player. Has provided some good things for the Columbus Clippers. I mean, perfect guy to round out the top 10, in my opinion. Not too high, not too low. I think 10's a good spot for him.
Yep. Perfectly said it.
So So let's go ahead and just talk about some of the other guys that are on this list. So guys that just got drafted, right? You mentioned a ton of pitchers, but there's another guy on this list that just got drafted that also joined this list. Jacob Cozart joined the list, a fellow catcher that I believe got drafted last year. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And Cooper Engel is also on that list.
Yep.
Both of those guys are sitting top 15 right now. But again, and a lot of guys that play for the Ducks ended up following here, not following. Andrew Walters, who's actually with the Clippers now, but was with the Ducks at the start of the year, fell, I think, a little bit, maybe rose a little bit. I don't remember quite where he was in the last list, but he's sitting at 23rd right now. Petey Halpin, Khalil Watson, those are guys that are sort of rounding out that top 30 there. But again, you mentioned some names that aren't on the list. Aaron Davenport, not on the list. Austin Peterson, not on the list. Milan Tolentino, Joe Lampy.
Tugboat.
Yeah, Tugboat. He fell way off the list.
He was on the list, and now he's not.
Yeah, I mean, just some. I mean, I'm sure we could sit here and talk about some other guys. George Valera fell quite a bit. He's now 22nd, and again,
Brian Lavastida's not even on the list. I mean, it's
Lavastida's not there. I mean, they really revamped this list. Now, top 6 guys, I really don't have any argument, and I mean, really beyond. You could probably argue beyond the top 7, beyond the top 8, and really any organization, it kind of becomes a blur because at that point, I really do think you are judging how high upside a guy can be. You really are judging kind of not necessarily what he's done, but what he has the potential to do. And I think, again, really, when you take a look at these rankings, you can debate them all you want. When you look at the top 6 to 10 guys, those are the guys that you're like, okay, this is what we're looking at for our future, and any piece behind that, well, you hope they perform well. You hope you can rise the ranks there up that list. Maybe you see them at the major league level, maybe you don't. But I mean, at the end of the day, despite everything that I literally just said, where is Davenport? Where is Peterson? Where is literally the Eastern League Player of the Month, Milan Tolentino? And I know we're just listing guys from Akron here, but there are so many other players that, I mean, look, there are so many players that deserve a spot on this list, and there's obviously only 30 spots, and they're going to go with probably the guys that have the highest upside, but just, I don't know.
I think next week on our show, I think we got to put together a top 15 list.
I'm down. You know what? Yeah.
Something.
Yeah,
15, 10, 20, whatever. And we're going to compare it against this.
So you know what?
See how it is.
Okay. So for all you viewers out there, let me go ahead and propose this. No DeLauter, no Bazzana, no Manzardo, no Churio, no Velasquez.
Nobody in the top 5. And
no
then we'll
top
just build
5.
off of that.
Let's make a top 10. Let's make a top 10 without those 5 guys, and let's run it.
Yep. Next week.
Yeah. I love it. We can use stat. You know what? Make the list however you want, but just be warned coming in. I'm not necessarily going to ask you to defend your list because, again, it is your list. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. This is the sports world. People are going to have different opinions on literally everything. I will say, before you share your list next week, share the criteria in which you built your list off of, if that makes sense.
I'll say it right now. It's going to be, if you're performing in double and triple A, you're going to be higher on the list. If you're not doing well in rookie ball, but MLB Pipeline has you ranked high for some reason, not going to be on the list. So that's what I'm building my criteria on, is performance at the pro level.
That next week, dear viewer. I mean, you can look forward to that next week. And hey, maybe I'll shoot my list over to you there, Tavin. You can make some graphics there. How's that sound?
Oh yeah, we'll throw some stuff up.
Yeah, again, we're still trying to figure out this StreamYard thing. We'll figure out how to throw a graphic up there. But I mean, really, anyone else you want to talk about that's not on this list, or maybe a guy that you think is not necessarily deserving of a top 10 spot that's on the top 30, maybe not. But I mean, a guy that is on this top 30 list that maybe is around the 15 to 30 range that you could see making a really, really big jump.
Nobody in particular. I mean, Cooper Engel is a guy who I think is pretty low, especially you. And you're gonna not fully agree with this, maybe, but I think he should be higher than Cozart. I mean, Cozart's played what, 6 games in 5 games?
Look, for as much as I like Cozart, I agree with you because Cooper Engel was
as
phenomenal
a catcher
in Lake
has
County.
been hitting 300 all year.
Yes,
come on, guys,
and
you can't put.
I mean, look, for as much as I love Jacob Cozart, I know when to put my biases aside, which I do have a little one for Jacob Cozart. I think he's going to be really, really good. I really like that the Guardians were able to pick him up. I do definitely have to agree that I think Cooper Ingle gets the spot above Cozart. Again, doesn't matter what level these guys play. I mean, in some cases, but in most cases, I mean, it's professional baseball nonetheless. And even though AAA is higher than AA and single A is lower than high A, like it's still all professional baseball, and you still got to judge these guys on what they've done within their own teams, right? That's maybe a little bit of a sneak peek into the criteria that I'm going to be using to make my top list. But when you go ahead and I mean, take a look at Cooper Ingle, he did some really good things in Lake County, and his first series here with Akron, I'll actually pull up his numbers now, unless you have them up. Oh, nope, got him right here.
Ingles?
4 games, 13 games, 13 at-bats, 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 double, 1 RBI, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts, stole 2 bases, has a slash line of 231 batting average, 444 on base percentage, 308 slugging, 752 OPS. Not fantastic numbers, but still pretty solid numbers for his first series as a Duck.
Yup. Pretty much just hammered it home there.
And Cozart, we'll take a look at what he did. He only played in 1 game. I mean, one for 4, 2 strikeouts.
I mean, that kind of just even hammers my point home more. I mean, Cozart, obviously, love him, has great upside. Is he above a Cooper Ingle who's been hitting 300 all season? I don't think so at all.
Nope.
But we'll see my list next week. So,
well, let's go run through things really quickly here in sort of our, I don't want to call them our final awards, because I believe we will do this again once every minor league season has wrapped up. We'll sort of go through the organization and name what we're about to do right now. But just for the fun of it, we have a little bit of time left as we are approaching the hour mark of the show. I don't think I've missed anything else on the agenda. I'll just playoff races. We should probably touch on that before we dive on into the thing that I was starting to preview. Okay, so let's start from the top and let's go to the bottom. Columbus, again, even though they had a rough series against Iowa, they still got a pretty solid lead there. I believe last time I looked, it was 4 games. I am going to fact check myself here, but when it pops up, there it is. Okay, 4.5. So the Omaha Storm Chasers won the first half. They have a 4.5 game lead on Indianapolis. So Columbus still sitting really pretty, but Indy's getting hot. They just swept their last series. They're 7-3 in their last 10, 6 straight wins. And I believe Columbus may even have to play them. See, there you go. That exactly what I warned about. Oh, goodness. All right. You know what? We roll with it. So, Columbus has to play Indianapolis in that next series. So really, really big series there.
Yeah, and then you go to AA, you look at Akron. I mean, Akron's 29-16. They're 7 games, 7 games in first place. Technically 3.5, but Erie's the second place team. They won the first half, so they don't matter. And that's who we'll be facing September 17th at home if we do crack the playoffs. You have 7-game lead over Bowie, which I'm not comfortable with at all yet. You have 4 more series, one of which against Bowie, which is not this coming week, but the next week at home. That's going to be the biggest series of the week, or of the entire year, in my opinion. If you take at least 4 against Bowie and you play well the entire way, the rest of the way there, at least split, I think you're fine. So not totally comfortable yet, but I'm getting there with the 7-game lead against Bowie.
And we'll just go ahead and slide on down to Lake County. I put it back up. So
there we go.
We'll see. We'll see. But going on to Lake County, I mean, not really much to talk about with this team. They've already clinched a playoff spot. If you want to know where they are in the second half, they have a 5-game deficit to sort of make up there. The series with Great Lakes was a big one. If they wanted to get in 3rd place for the second half, they're going to stay in 4th place, but they're still playing above 500 baseball. They still got some really good talent there on that team. They have home field advantage in the playoffs because they won the first half. Just goes to show you there is precedent in winning that first half. Just
the only thing I would look out for Lake County is just how's Velasquez, Cozart, how are those guys going to do just coming up, and then that's obviously going to affect your playoff run. So
yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Well, hey, we just crossed the hour mark. Look at that. And we'll go ahead and talk about Lynchburg now. You, by the way, touched on Akron very, very nicely, sir. I have nothing else to add there for that. Lynchburg, we knew it was a big series for them. They took 5 of 6, yet they still have a deficit to make up. They're still 4 games back. But the good news is the teams in front of them that were really hot here, as I mentioned on our previous show last week, where they were, getting hot. Fredericksburg, Salem, and Carolina are all 5-5 in their last 10 games, while Lynchburg is 8-2. They've gotten a lot of really nice talent, and Lynchburg has got some really important series coming up, one of which with Fredericksburg. I believe they have a series with Carolina as well. Again, we'll dive on into the rest of their schedule here in just a little bit, but some really important series for coming up. They have a positive run differential, but again, they're kind of about where they're expected to be in terms of expected win-loss. Is it doable for Lynchburg to make the playoffs?
How many are they back? I missed it.
4.
It's doable. I think it's going to be way tougher now with Velasquez obviously gone and just a ton of these new draft picks coming in and just getting fresh into rookie or not rookie ball, but pro ball. And keeping Churio does help, but if they move Churio up, I think it's pretty much it's gonna be tough, but I think it's done for Lynchburg if they lose Churio. But I do think it is possible for Lynchburg to make a run here.
Well, before we close out the show, now we will do what I sort of previewed here. So, Tavin, I think you had this all ready to go. I'm going to sort of formulate my thoughts here on the guys that I want to pick for this. And so we now begin with, let's start small. And let's go ahead and go big. So first off, let's go ahead and start with, you actually sent me a list here. I got to find it. So give me 1 second. Oh, okay, I find it. Okay. Coach of the year. Who's it going to?
Going with Amir Santos, Lake County coach. I mean, he obviously
Agreed.
He was the only one to make a playoff spot.
At least so far.
Yeah, so far. And he's had guys going up and down all over the place, getting guys in, losing guys, and he just made it work for them. So Lake County is my coach of the year for our affiliates, and Amir Santos.
Now, who's the manager of Columbus?
I believe it is still Andy Tracy.
That's what I didn't want to say it in case it had changed, and I just didn't know. He would be kind of my pick there with that Lake County coach being a close second. I just think the turnaround that Columbus has had. Now, again, okay, I'm actually going to change my opinion. I am agreeing with you in Lake County, but very close second to me is that coach in Columbus.
It is Andy Tracy. Yep.
Yeah. So Andy Tracy, a very close second for me, just because of the turnaround this Columbus team has. Now, again, I understand they're playing with a lot of major league talent, but especially on the pitching front, you have a lot of guys that were playing AA baseball earlier this year. You're still winning games. Now, the offense has a lot of major league players, yes, but when the pitching is going, again, that's a pitching squad that has a mix of guys that are supposed to be in AAA, guys that could be in the majors, and guys that probably should still be in Akron or maybe even Lake County at this point. Like, you got a very mixed bag in that pitching staff there. I think he's done a pretty good job. Okay, let's stay in the bullpen. Reliever of the year. No question to me.
Again, me too. I know where you're going, but I'm going Lenny Torres.
Wow.
Dude's been insane. And Andrew Walters is a very close second, but I'm giving it to Lenny Torres mainly just it's a little bit of biasy. I mean, I've watched him all year, but Lenny Torres,
of course.
You throw Lenny Torres in a game, it's ending. Besides this last Erie series where they might have gotten the best of him, he was handed 2 losses, one of which was on him, one of which should have went to Jack, but we know how that goes. But Lenny Torres, you throw him out in a tough game, he's going to deliver every time. That's my reliever of the year.
For those of you out there that may not have known where I'm going, you're about to find out right now. It's Andrew Walters. He has pitched really well in Akron. And while in Columbus, he's had his struggles, when he is on, he is lights out. This is a stat line from Columbus this year, 3.91 ERA, which again, not fantastic, but that's over 25 games. He's pitched 23 innings, 18 hits, 10 runs, all of them earned, 4 home runs, only hit 1 batter, only walked 15 while striking out 32. And while, yes, the stats can improve for Walters here, you go back and look at what he did against Akron, shut down for the most part in Columbus, shut down apart for a couple of just bad games. Andrew Walters is my pick there. Okay.
I'll just run through Lenny Torres' stats real quick.
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
2.6 ERA, 57 strikeouts in 34 games, closing in on almost 2 a game. When he gets in, record's 1-4, but if you know me, record, in my opinion, doesn't mean anything in the minor leagues. It's just not my stat. It could go to anybody. It's not it. But the ERA and the strikeouts have just been there. That's what you're going to get out of Lenny Torres anytime he gets into a game.
Lenny Torres, very close second for me. I think either one of those two guys is an absolutely fantastic pick. Okay, breakout player of the year. This is an interesting one. Where are you going?
Going with Joe Lampe. For my breakout player of the year, I'm going with Joe Lampe out of Akron. I mean, coming into the year, I didn't think I'll be honest. I thought Lampe was going to be a 220, 230 hitter, just kind of float there, have a solid glove, and be the average utility guy. Not at all. Lampe has just been great all season long for the Ducks. Hitting 270, 4 home runs, not totally there, but you don't need power out of every guy you have on the roster. 16 stolen bases, great glove in the field, which isn't a stat, but if you just watch him play, some of the plays that he makes, some of the rally throws, I mean, that's not a stat, but it's just great to have in a player. Has speed, obviously. I mentioned 16 stolen bases, so just a great player. Didn't expect this at all out of Lampe. So glad that he's delivered for us this year.
So I got 2 names in mind, and the reason I have 2 is because I don't know if you're going to necessarily qualify one of them, but my winner would be Big Christmas, John Kenzie Noel. Yeah. Not only did he hit really, really well in Columbus, I mean, you look at what he's doing in the major league level, and sure, while his work in the field is he's given the Guardians exactly what they need and a power bat. He raked everything in Columbus just over the fence. He's my winner for breakout player. But in case some of you, those out there, don't necessarily qualify that, Milan Tolentino out of the Akron Rubber Ducks is my next pick. The guy is just absolutely insane in clutch hitting. He's got a ton of walk-offs this year. Really like what he's done. Milan Tolentino would be my next pick for breakout player. But again, Big Christmas and John Kenzie Noel. Yes, I know he's at the major league level right now, but you go look at what he did in Columbus. He is my minor league breakout player of the year, just because, especially from what he's done at the big level. Let's throw, oh no, never mind. You did throw this in there. I do want to go with this actually in just a little bit. Okay. Most improved.
By far, not even a question. For my most improved player of the year by far, Ross Carver.
Yes.
Ross Carver out of the Akron bullpen.
Yes. I'm 100% in agreement.
Last year, Ross Carver was a starter, and he got rocked around. I'm just going to call it as it is. Ross Carver got rocked as a starter. Last year, stats weren't the best. This year, out of the bullpen, he has turned his entire career, in my eyes, around. For them just making him a bullpen guy. Last year, he had an ERA of 6.6. This year, 4.2 out of the bullpen. Obviously, no, it's less games, less innings being pitched. But you got to love that out of Ross Carver. So just great.
Yeah, no, I'm in complete agreement.
From just Cleveland, just turning him into the bullpen guy. I'll hand it over to you if you want to talk about anything.
I literally, I mean, ditto to everything you just said. I mean, and it's also one thing to see too. I mean, with the way this Guardians organization works pitchers like that and is able to turn them around. I mean, one way of doing that is taking a guy either from the bullpen to be a starter, or more often than not, it's from being a starter into a bullpen role. And a guy that hasn't really been able to find that is Xavier Curry. But the guy that you just said, Ross Carver's done it really, really well.
Right. And I think it happened. I think it's great, and it works for us most of the time. A guy, I'm just going to touch on briefly that it hasn't worked for, has been Xavier Curry, who's no longer with us, and another dude is just Jack Leftwich, who's a whole different story. But Ross Carver last year, 75 innings, as a starter. This year, 44. So obviously less time out there, but the ERA has dropped a total of 2.2 points. So just great work from Ross this year.
Yeah. I mean, no. And again, these are not our final picks. I want to reiterate for all you fine people out there that may be watching this, listening to this, whatever have you, we will be doing this again at the end of the season. But given that we kind of jumped in, starting this podcast mid-season, kind of figured like we should do now. Okay. Now on to the big ones, right? The big four. Let's go ahead and talk about Rookie of the Year. I'm going to go ahead and say we can include Bazana in this as well.
Okay,
Unless
is that who
you
you're
don't
going with?
want to.
I'll let you start.
No,
Who are you
no,
going
because
with?
I'm not going with Bazana.
Okay, I
I'm
wasn't either,
going with
personally.
CJ Kafis.
Okay, you'll see why I went with my pick here in a little bit. My Rookie of the Year is Cooper Engel. The dude as a catcher,
Okay.
as a catcher, I've hammered it home
No,
countless times
I
before.
love it. I love it.
It's tough to hit over 240 as a catcher. Cooper Engel is hitting above 300 as a catcher.
I love
I
it.
don't think many people give this dude credit for what he's been doing. He's solid behind the plate too, but on the offensive side of things, he is a freak of nature. Just on the offensive side of things, let me find his stats here real quick. 309 batting average this year, 10 home runs, 5 stolen bases. Cooper Engel, Rookie of the Year.
Honestly, and it's no shame to CJ Kafis, I'm going to sort of retract that here. It's just a loaded list of guys to pick from. Velasquez, Kafis, Walters, Engel, Tugboat. I think I'm going to save my pick for the end of the year and just have to make a really hard decision because while it probably is going to end up going to Walters as a guy that, again, best bullpen arm to me that I said, obviously that would win Rookie of the Year there as well. All of those guys are in their first year of pro ball, just getting drafted this past year. That's just a really hard decision to make because all those guys in their own ways have performed exceptionally throughout various stages of this organization. And I mean, picking even one of them is hard. I want to give it to all of them. Can I do that? Can I give it to all of them?
Last year's draft might have been one of the best in recent memory. I mean, you just named 6 guys there that are just all equally talented. So it's a tough decision.
And then even if you include Bazana in there as well, I mean that's just a hard decision. So I think I'll save my vote for the end of the season. Okay, now on to the big 3. Rookie of the Year, a big one to me, but on to the big 3. Defensive Player of the Year. I have no doubt where I'm going, so I'll say it right now. It's Yourdis Valdez.
Whoa. I'm going to let you talk real quick just on it.
I mean, look, I probably am not going to disagree with what you're saying, but what I have seen from him with the glove, he just makes plays that nobody should be able to make look easy. He's throwing things across the diamond. And look, I know you're not going to sit here and argue that Yourdis Valdez is a great.
Oh, he's awesome.
Defensive player.
He's awesome in the field. Yeah.
And look, in full honesty, there probably is a guy that right now I just am not thinking of in my mind.
For sure.
And I probably will, I probably will get up from this chair and walk away once you say your name. But I'm in love with Yourdis Valdez defensively. He needs the bat to come around, but that's not what this award is for. It's for the glove, and he's got a great one, Yourdis Valdez.
And his bat has came around. The home runs have been there. The past recent month, I think he hit 3 or 4. I want to say 3.
Something like that, yeah.
But it's came around. Mine's not even a question. The best, not just the best fielder in the minor leagues. I think he's literally the best fielder in baseball, has been the past 2 years. Connor Cox. You could throw a flag on it if you want. He hasn't been with us because we released him, but he's literally Miles Straw, but better in the field. Obviously, the reason he was released is because of the bat. You should have kept him around. You could have developed the bat into something. He still hung around there and hit 220, 230, but Connor Cox, anything that's hit to him, he's catching. Countless just crazy plays from Connor Cox. Best fielder I've seen in my lifetime. I'm just going to say it. The dude's insane.
So if you had to pick someone that was still currently in the organization, who would you go with?
Wow. I would probably give it to Valdez.
Yeah.
I'd probably give it to Yourdis.
Again, I just don't. And Miles Straw obviously would be another candidate,
or Milan Tolentino.
Oh yeah, true.
He's great at third too, but I would probably say Yourdis.
Again, I have no argument with the Connor Cox pick. It's, he's just not with the organization anymore, which is the sad truth of the reality. But yes, made Superman dives, made that great catch, this great catch. I mean, if minor league had a Sports Center top 10, you might have seen him on there every single week.
Every night. Yeah. I mean, the dude's just insane.
Okay. So there's defensive player. Let's move on to Cy Young. I know where you're going. Just go ahead and say it.
I know where you're going as well. You're going with Austin Peterson.
Maybe you don't. But I absolutely know where you're going. So go ahead.
Going with Aaron Davenport. Come on. You just watch him out there every time. Best hair in the league, best fastball in the league, best pitcher in the entire league. the dude's a freak in nature. I can pull up his stats real quick and talk for hours on end. 6-4, which who cares about the record? That's just for run support. 2.9 ERA, 111 strikeouts, 1.18 WHIP, and over 116 innings, 22 games. He doesn't go a ton of innings. Just on the game, seems like he's always getting pulled fifth, sixth inning. Again, I've touched on it. Don't know if that's because he can't really go into the seventh or if that's just DeCenzo being DeCenzo. But obviously, just no brainer for me. Aaron Davenport, Cy Young, not just in our system, the entire league.
Well, I tried to fool you and fool the people out there, but sadly, after looking at maybe no, not sadly to me. I'm proud to say that I do think Austin Peterson is the best pitcher the organization has to offer. And yeah, well, he might not be leading ERA, another thing. Again, the win-loss percentage is an inflated stat. I would agree, but you can't argue when guys have a really, really good one. It's because they're a good pitcher. His ERA is still low. He strikes out a lot of guys, doesn't walk a lot of people.
9 against Erie. Great outing this past week.
Exactly. And look, Davenport, Peterson, again, we debated this last week, are probably the best 1-2 pitchers. Again, you could argue with some other pitchers that are on the top 30, Matt Wilkinson, who's not, and again, just some other guys there, but you're talking at least stat-wise, and from what we've seen at the minor league level throughout their career, some of the best pitchers in this organization that just are not on this list. Peterson is my pick. Again, Davenport, very close pick. But now it is time. MVP of the Guardians minor league organization across every facet. Who do you got?
Hear me out. DeLauter's been hurt. Bazana just got here. I told you it's going to be a callback. My MVP for this year is CJ Kafis.
Oh, wow.
He has hit 301 all year long. He has 16 home runs. He can play. He can play anywhere you need. He's got a bat. He's clutch. His defense is great. Everything you want in a player. My MVP for the minor leagues this year is CJ Kafis.
Wow. I have no arguments there with that one at all. It's a really, really hard one to pick. I mean, you got so many great guys. Again, I could go with the way of Big Christmas. I mean, you definitely could go Manzardo, but I don't really think so. Honestly, I might have to give this one some more thought just because of the fact that, I mean, when you're trying to take a look across every single team, there's just a lot of guys that you can pick from. I could go through and pick an MVP for literally every single team. Obviously, that's not what this exercise is. For the sake of time, I'm going to have to agree with you as of now. I'll put some more brain power into it as the season goes along. But I mean, he performed really well at Lake County, was one of their most valuable hitters, has turned into one of the most valuable hitters that the Akron Rubber Ducks have seen. Again, a guy that is playing in his first year of pro ball and a guy that has just ascended through the ranks a lot quicker than what a lot of people thought he was going to do out of college in Miami. He's performed really well. 9 home runs there in Akron. You said 7 in Lake County, 16 home runs out of however many games he played. You put those home runs from Lake County into his with Akron. He actually leads the team at Akron, and Planes and Watson and Halpin have been there the entire season. Those are the 3 home run leaders for the Ducks this year. Again, for the sake of time, I'm going to have to, formulate my thoughts, but CJ Kafis is a great pick. Well done by you, sir. Well done.
For sure. And that's why I went with Cooper Engel for Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
I mean, by this logic, Kafis should have it, but
of course.
Just to mix it up, throw somebody else in there. I'll say,
and again,
my
at the
MVP
end of the season,
can't win Rookie of the Year.
And maybe we make that rule for our postseason as well, because I do kind of like that. I think the postseason there, or not postseason, just at the end of the season, once everything is said and done, I think we can definitely have that. But again, a lot of guys to pick from. Good show. Oh, what just fell? I don't know. Something fell. Oh, the other one fell.
The jersey.
All right. Well, they're coming down in a minute anyway. So, okay. Well, good show. I think that's going to just about wrap it up. So before my other jersey falls again, anything else to say from you, sir?
Not much. Run through the upcoming weeks.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I totally forgot we were going to do that. Let me go ahead and pull it up here. But while we do that, I mean, what are you excited about for schooling this year? What year are you again? Remind me.
Be a junior.
Be a junior. That's right. Junior in high
Yep.
school, for those of you people out there watching. You're getting involved with the football team up there. How's everything looking with that?
Yeah, a lot of football coming up. First game for Perry is going to be on Thursday. So,
Okay.
Yep.
All
Just a
right.
lot of football. Excited for some college coming up. So, should be good.
Oh, yeah. I'm big in the college football. You just can't wait. We could talk forever about that. Okay, let's run through things here. Working from the bottom to the top, Lynchburg, huge series coming up. If Lynchburg is going to want to be a team that's going to go forth and try to make some playoffs, this is a huge series for them on the road against Salem. They're ahead of them in the standings right now. I do believe Lynchburg is, but again, I should say the overall standings, they're not ahead of them in the second half standings. Still, really big series for them to get some wins and to get boosted back up there. For Lake County, they got a 6-game series on the road as well against West Michigan, I believe, also ahead of them in second half standings. I think they're second, but again, we're just looking for Lake County to play some good baseball. I think you mentioned it earlier here, but Akron has 2 back-to-back homestands. This first one here is going to be against Harrisburg, who looked like they were going to win the first half. The team
and then they lost Dylan Cruz, and that was the end of their season, essentially.
That was pretty much it. Hey, really early game on Tuesday. It is a 12:05 Eastern time start, 11:05 for all you Central time people out there. That may be in my realm.
Mr. Cy Young on the mound tomorrow.
Okay, Mr. Davenport, there you go. And for the Columbus Clippers, I talked about it a little bit earlier, an absolutely massive series with the team that is just below them in the standings, 4.5 games back. It's Indianapolis. They're playing Columbus in Columbus, and that might be, before we close out the show, biggest series of the week is?
Lynchburg or Columbus, I would say.
I think it has to be Columbus. You got the top 2 teams, and again, depending on what happens, those 2 teams going to be battling it out for that playoff spot. It's a home series for Columbus, so a little bit of an advantage there. But overall, really looking forward to that Indianapolis series. They have an early game on Wednesday this week, which you don't usually see out of the minor leagues, but I think Columbus does some special promotion there. Anyway.
Especially this late in the season with school and everything starting back up. So.
Well, that's going to do it for this show. If you don't have anything else, close it out, my friend.
That's it. So new time starting now. It's going to be Monday at 6, correct?
Yep. New time, and that's going to stay. Fluctuate a couple minutes here and there. We got things to do, but the podcast will be on. It'll be great as it was this week. Pleasure as usual.
The season, baby.
Yeah, through the rest of the season. Maybe to give all you fine people sort of a schedule out there on just how long this is going to go. We're going to go through the end of the season. We're going to go probably throughout the entirety of minor league playoffs. And maybe, just maybe, we can come on and talk a little Guardians playoffs if, they happen to get that far there as well. No, the Guardians have a couple things going on for them right now, and they're sort of off and on. But hey, if they get far enough, maybe we can come on here and talk a little Guardians baseball. How's that sound?
Good to me.
All right. Close it out, my friend. Send us home. Send me to dinner. I'm hungry.
Same time tomorrow. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
All right. See you guys.